Welcome to Daily Horror Stories, where you can learn English through fear. Tonight's story is called A Night on Halloween, Part 1, The Cold Night and the Strange Idea. It was Halloween night. I was only 10 years old, and the air was cold. The sky was very dark, like a deep blue blanket. My friends, Tom and Leo, and I were outside. We were not wearing special costumes, but we had that excited feeling that only Halloween could bring. We had eaten a lot of candy, and now we were bored. We needed an adventure. "Let's go somewhere new," Tom said. He was always the one with the crazy ideas. "Like where?" Leo asked. Leo was tall for his age, but he was the most nervous of us all. "The old cemetery," Tom whispered. My stomach suddenly felt cold, like I had swallowed a piece of ice. The cemetery was on the edge of our town. Everyone knew it was very old, maybe 200 years old, and nobody went there anymore. It was silent and forgotten. But the idea was exciting and scary at the same time. "No way, Tom! My mom said we must stay away from there," I said. But a strange feeling began to grow inside me. It was like a little push, a very quiet voice in my head that was not my own. It said, "Go to the cemetery. You must see it." Tom and Leo looked at me. Their faces were serious. They felt it too. It was not a sudden decision. It was a slow, heavy feeling of need. We were 3 friends, 10 years old, and we were walking toward the darkest, quietest place in our town. We walked without saying a word. The trees along the road were black shadows. The moon hid behind the clouds, so the light was bad. We could hear our own feet on the dry leaves, crunch, crunch, crunch. The nature around us was too calm. There was no wind, no dogs barked. It was like the whole world was holding its breath just for us.
Part 2. The Silent Cemetery. When we got to the cemetery gate, we stopped. The iron gate was old and rusty. We did not need to open it. A large part of the stone wall next to it had fallen down many years ago. We climbed over the broken stones. Inside, the graves were everywhere. The stones were covered with green moss and looked like old broken teeth. It smelled like wet dirt and old leaves. It was scary, but the strange need was still pushing us forward. Then we saw it. It was a very old grave, bigger than the others, with a tall, cracked stone that was almost black. Tom stopped and pointed. "Look," he whispered, "that one." For a moment, I forgot the fear. I just looked at the stone. I started saying something very strange. I looked at my watch, but it was too dark to see the time. "It is 10:15 a.m., I heard myself say. 10:15 a.m. But it was night, not the morning. Why did I say that? And why was I talking about the time of the morning? Tom and Leo stared at me. I felt very confused. That was the only thing I could remember clearly about that exact moment. Everything else was a blur. Part 3. We are 5. We were standing there for only a few minutes, but it felt like a long time. And then the air changed again. The silence became heavier. "Tom," Leo whispered, his voice shaking. "How many of us are here?" 3, Leo. Just stop being scared," Tom said.
but he did not sound brave anymore. I counted in my head. Me, Tom, Leo, 3. But something was wrong. I looked again at the tombstone. I could feel 2 other presences. They were not there, but they were there. They were not solid like us. They were like the cold air that suddenly touched my neck. We were 5. I felt a strange wave of panic, but I couldn't move or scream. My legs were stuck to the ground. We were now 5 people looking at the old black tombstone. My 2 friends also felt the presence of the others. We couldn't control ourselves. It was like a crazy dream. Then a sound started. It was not a loud noise, but a low, strange vibration, like a very quiet whisper coming from all directions. It was trying to tell us something, but I could not understand the words. It was like a language without letters. The invisible forces were moving. We saw nothing, but we knew they moved. They gathered together in one spot, about 5 meters from us, near a small broken statue. They stopped there, waiting. Part 4. The Voices and the Hysteria. Suddenly, the 2 extra presences looked at us. I felt their gaze, and it was a terrible pressure. My friends Tom and Leo started to act very strange. Leo began to cry, but his tears were not ordinary. He made a high-pitched, hysterical noise, like a scared animal. Tom started laughing. His laughter was not happy. It was a loud, empty, terrible sound. He laughed and cried at the same time. "We must go! We must go now!" Leo shouted.
Say in a manic, screaming voice.
No, we must stay. They want us to stay.
Tom screamed, still laughing. My own feeling was extreme fear, but also a strange, morbid curiosity. The panic was taking control. The invisible presences started to speak more clearly. The whispers became words. They were talking about the cemetery, about their friends, about the size and shape of something they needed. The words made no sense, but they made Tom and Leo completely lose control. They were now moving toward the spot where the forces were gathered, crying and laughing like puppets pulled by invisible strings. "Wait!" I shouted. I needed to stop them. A crazy thought came to me. "Let's go to the tombstone. Let's climb on it and look closely." Tom and Leo stopped instantly. They looked at me with pure terror in their eyes. "No, never!" Tom cried. "We can't!" Leo screamed. But then the strange push came back, stronger this time. It was a silent command that hurt our minds. Tom and Leo looked at each other, and the fear in their eyes was replaced by a kind of cold, forced acceptance. "Okay," Tom said, his voice flat. "We agree. Let's go." Part 5. The Woman in Black. We walked the last few steps to the large black tombstone. We were 5 standing there, 3 boys and 2 invisible others. I put my hand on the cold stone. It felt very, very old. I tried to read the words, but they were almost gone. We knew this cemetery was abandoned for a long time, maybe 20 years, maybe 200 years. The numbers were not clear anymore. Say with a feeling of mental invasion. The invisible forces did not stop. They were showing us things now, not with pictures, but with feelings and sudden, clear images in our minds. They were showing us what they wanted. Then a new presence appeared. She was clearer than the others. I saw a woman. She wore a long black robe. She was very still and quiet, standing near the back of the tomb. She was not a threat. She felt sad, not dangerous. Say in a calm, ethereal, thought-like voice. She raised her hand slowly and pointed to the top of the grave. "What is needed," a quiet thought came into my mind, "is there on the tomb." Say with confusion and wonder. I looked at the top of the stone. I saw nothing, just the cracked, cold stone. Who was she? Was she a grave digger? A ghost? A person buried there 200 years ago? Say with a sudden return to normality, then panic. Suddenly, it was over. The feeling of 5 people disappeared. The woman in black was gone. The cold air was gone. Tom, Leo, and I were just 3 small boys standing by a lonely grave on a dark night. Leo screamed, a real scream this time, and we ran. We ran faster than we had ever run before. We did not look back. We ran until we were out of the cemetery, out of the dark road, and back toward the lights of our town. Part 6, 20 years later. I never told anyone the full story. After that night, I never saw Tom or Leo go near the cemetery again. I avoided that side of town for many years. 20 years have passed since that Halloween night. Now I am a man, not a 10-year-old boy. I know that what happened that night was real, not just a child's dream. The panic, the 2 extra people, the voice saying 10:15 a.m., and the woman in black, all of it is clear in my mind. I still remember the story with a terrible horror. I still feel the cold on my neck when I think of the 5 of us standing in the dark next to the forgotten stone, and I still do not know what was on the tomb and what they needed. Now, let's check your understanding. Question 1. How old was the narrator on that Halloween night? Question 2. Who were his 2 friends? Question 3. Where did the boys decide to go? Question 4. How many people did they finally feel were standing near the grave? Question 5. Who was the woman in black and what did she point to? Bonus question. What strange time did the boys say out loud, even though it was night? Thank you for listening to Daily Horror Stories. We hope you enjoyed this spooky Halloween tale and learned some new English words. If you liked the story, subscribe for more scary English listening practice, 1 story every day. Sleep well, if you can.